Alrighty, welcome to Pub Talk. We are finally here, everyone. So welcome to myself, Joel from League of Inches, with Trav as well. Got a few of our mates around as well. So we've been talking about this on our page, on our podcast for, I feel like, basically 2 years now, and you've all been very keen for it. We sort of started last year, but we didn't want to overly commit to it because it wasn't quite the setting. We've finally got the right setting, and that is here at the Caxton Street Brewery, which we are very, very thankful for. So the idea of this, we've got a season 1 of Pub Talk, so we'll have a couple of episodes for you guys where we basically just talk about everything that's going on in the game at the moment with some of our best mates, best content creator mates out there. So we'll get all of our knowledge or wonderful knowledge out there to you guys, tell you our opinions, and let you guys come back to us in the comments and things like that and let us know what you guys all think as well. So we'll be talking everything for this one. We're going NRL, expansion, international footy, origin, you name it. We'll be talking about it. This will be only season 1, and then we'll grow it out over the next couple of years as well. But we've got Link from the United. Hello, mate. How are you?
Mate. Thanks for having me back. Great company as always.
Yes.
Appreciate being here, mate. Truly.
I'm very, very keen. Got Retro Rugby League.
How are you? It's good. It's the first time we've been all back together since Origin Game 3.
Don't talk about it. Yeah, talk about it. Yeah.
It's the only thing that won this year, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
the only thing that's important.
On that, there was another team that has won this year. We've now got another winner among us. He's the voice of Nova. He's basically the voice of the Broncos. And yeah, Nick Davis, well done, mate. You're a champion.
I am. I would have been on vocal rest and for the entire off season, but I've just warmed them back again for today. And I'll tell you what, it feels good. It feels very, very good. And no one here at this table had a meltdown about the result. I certainly didn't. But I will say, post grand final, my immune system just crashed. So I mean, we've waited for this for 19 years. Me, maybe a little bit less, but look, we're very happy. I'm in a very happy place right now.
All right, let's start with the NRL. And when I say the NRL, I'm talking about what's happening basically among the comp side of things. So the draw, salary cap, and we'll even sort of talk about the draft and things like that, which there's always been talk about. But as a whole, guys, and the competition, I want to open up a very wide-ranging question that couldn't go anywhere. Go around the room and just get your thoughts on where you think the game as a whole is at the moment. Trav, kick us off.
The game sucks. The only thing that's important is Queensland won the Origin. That's it. No one cares about anything else.
Says a Storm supporter that lost their grand final 2 years in a row. So
thanks for reminding me, hence why the game sucks. Look, let's be fair. The game's the best it's ever been. The skills are the best. The teams are the best. The talent level is the best. The production's the best. We've now in the modern era where content creators and things are out there, so that makes it even better. Teams have got their own content creators, so that means that we've got more exposure. We've got more professional knowledge talking about their teams. At the moment, the product is pretty good, but there are some glaring issues that I've got that I've spoken to the nth degree, and people are probably going to put in comments and go, again, here we go. But this is Pub Talk, and the whole thing is open to go. You know, what's the best thing about sitting in the pub having a few beers with your mates is that we sit there and solve the world's problems. Well, the world's problems for us five is the NRL and how we can fix it, because there's some things that need to be done.
Well, let's see if we can do that today. Link, what about yourself, mate?
Overwhelmingly positive, mate. Look, there's far more going for the NRL than there is going against it. Post-COVID, how we've come out post-COVID, PVL has been incredible. You know, Vegas is going from strength to strength. Magic Round is just growing into this massive behemoth. International football now, when they're shining a light on that, it's starting to blossom. You know, we've seen the Tonga and Samoa clash last weekend here at Suncorp Stadium was absolutely enormous. And just outside of the game too, you know, obviously we live in the content creator space. When that's thriving, the game's thriving. And it's exciting. It's exciting. You know, it's almost to the point, you know, I was kind of looking at, I know my team won the Wooden Spoon, terrible year, but it just always seems to be something going on. Always seems to be stuff going on. However, as Trav said, it isn't perfect. Probably never will be perfect, but we'll try our best in this pub talk session on how we're going to fix these problems, mate. So
I just realised I'm sandwiched in polar opposites. Wooden spooners, champions. So this could be a great few hours ahead. Nick, talk to it.
And hasn't won for 40 years.
Bridge dwellings.
Put you there for a reason. Look, that's a really good point. I do echo Link's comments, but because I'm from, again, NRL is my adopted sport. I come from an AFL background, so this code has taken me in, and I've really fallen in love with rugby league. And I don't do code wars straight away. I can go into that a little bit later. This will be a very long podcast if I do, but the game is in rude health. Like, it's such an exciting time for rugby league as well. And again, just here in our market where we are right now, Queensland winning Origin is always great, just for the game in general. For the narratives, the Broncos, your big powerhouse club finally gets that premiership they've been chasing for ages. But I think that the passion is there. The international game, as you mentioned, is this is where you need to grow. I think the game is in the pocket right now, and led by PVL, who's just quarterbacking this whole thing. I've never seen a leader like him.
Love that.
He knows his role so well. He plays that villain card. The punching up, he understands rugby league. I think, there's room for improvement, but it's all up and to the right at the moment. I think it's a really positive space right now.
Retro.
Yeah, it's been interesting. As I've got more and more into this space, I've probably been more pushed into the side of like business and how the NRL functions as a business and clubs function as a business. And so when I look at things like clubs releasing logos or jerseys, I'm analysing it through the lens of how that's good for business, or games are good for business, time slots good for business. And yeah, everything that you're saying is right. Like, everything is tracking well in a business sense. That will ruffle some feathers along the way, and everything won't be perfect, and there'll always be that tug. I've been listening to this podcast by Rugby League Digest all about the Super League war, and that has never really died. This kind of push now for the global league is basically the philosophy of Super League reborn. So we are kind of living in this eternal rugby league cycle, but the money is rolling in. The biggest, speaking of code wars, the biggest thing that AFL has always had over the league is crowd numbers. We've beaten them in TV numbers, and the crowd numbers are starting to come. When that topples, AFL have left. So we are heading in a really good direction.
We definitely are. And look, the whole point of pub talk is literally to have the pub talk sort of vibe. So we're just chatting back and forth, things like that. I have some things just to keep us sort of on task and time constraints and things like that. But basically throughout, I'll mention little things. I'll go to everyone, and we'll just have our say as we go. So the first sort of point I want to talk about is, it's discussed a lot. It's the competition. Is it fair? I think it's depending on where your team finishes each year, is depending on what the fans will say. Let's go, Link.
Sorry, man, but you took my point, because I was about to say, as long as the Storm are up and about, the league's fair. Who cares?
Yeah, well, look, we'll get back to that one. Link, talk to us. Do you think the competition's fair?
define fair. Like, let's look. It's never going to be exactly fair, unless you're going to play the same. Everyone plays the exact same team, the exact same amount of times on the same conditions. Some teams travel further than others. There's the whole where buys pop up. I know, what was it like? What do the Raiders have buys towards the end of the season?
3 in the last 10 or something.
Brisbane notoriously do not seem to travel anywhere. They always seem to get the Friday night. So look, as you said, there's a lot of business that comes to this. I think this is the struggle between what we'd like to see in an ideal world, but let's be honest, money talks. How do you make it fair? I guess comes down to who you're playing when, and I think it's impossible to have that ever be created equally. Are you going to play the Penrith Panthers at Origin, or are you going to play them at the start of the season, or are you going to play Melbourne in round one, or are you going to play them when they're resting players off Origin? It's too hard to say.
To be honest, like the draw and who plays what when is the least feature in what makes this game fair or unfair. It is almost inconsequential. The business stuff that happens behind the background, the clubs that the haves and the have-nots, the disparity is so huge, it will never be fair. And you basically can't monitor it, because how do you stop Mark Boris or Nick Politis pouring millions into a club, and you have another club over here just going around cap in hand for any dollar they can get? I know that there are some clubs, when you walk into their kind of staff offices, there's computers lined up out for whole rooms, and others have 5 people staring at each other. It's just not the same, and it will never be the same. And when clubs have a couple of years ago, the Mitchell and Ness range that was put out for Vegas, it was like the Vegas teams and a few others, and everyone's saying, why isn't there one for this and that club? Your club just doesn't sell. That's just not going to change unless you make it change. You've just got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That is rugby league.
Yeah. So then the question has to be, if it's not going to be fair because we've got owners and pouring money into different things and clubs are different. But let's be honest, that Brisbane Broncos and the way that they have it and their monopoly they've got over, I suppose, most of the competition, then we need to find another way to make it fair. And we can make it fair or fairer. Now, I agree, we're not going to make this competition fair as a sense of what you're trying to ask. It's not going to happen. But we do definitely need to fix in ways and make it fairer. And there's multiple ways to do this. And I'll start the conversation off around this, is that we're about to have 20 teams. So what's Papua New Guinea come in 28? So that makes 20 teams.
19.
9. Well, yeah, sorry, actually 19.
We'll go 19.
Yeah, my bad.
Perth will be 18.
Teams.
There will be 20.
There'll be 18. There'll be a 20th whenever that next one comes. So how do we sort that out? Because we're going to fit. Well, I think we can't have teams playing each other, or some teams only playing each other two times and others not. And we can't have origin period decimating some teams and others not. So that needs to be looked at. I also think that we need to fix this notion of, too often in the NRL, one thing that happens opposed to any other professional sport is that the bottom teams are generally always on the bottom, right? Well, not always, but for the majority of the time, in the NRL, the bottom teams are generally down the bottom, and they might come up and have something big every now and then, but that's like a blue moon moment. In any other professional sport, you look at in Australia, let's just go NBL, AFL, those bottom teams do jump up because, well, the NBL doesn't have a draft, but in the AFL, they have a draft. So the talent keeps getting pushed into the bottom, and then it helps them to build and push up. You look in the NFL, you look in the NBA, you look in the NHL, like in the American sides of things, and those professional sports, the bottom teams generally push themselves up, whereas in the NRL, it's always so. I actually legitimately love the idea of a draft. I mean, to be fair, I am. People talk to me and my mates talk to me and say I'm a better American than I am an Aussie. I love American culture. I love the sport. I love the way that the content creators manage. I love the way that the public talks about sport and what they do. I love how the media manages it opposed to what they have here in the media in Australia. I'm much about that. Sport in general only. I don't like American culture as such, but that's what I'm at. So I really think that we need to go down the draft path and make the NRL a much fairer position, especially when we get more teams.
I know it would probably lose the heritage of having, your own sort of your nurseries where people grew up, but
not every team has that.
Not every team has that. Yeah, you can have access to a great corridor, and finally Penrith were able to make the most out of theirs during the dynasty. But at the same time, success compounds into success, and the same with lack of success. And someone like Jerome Luai can come off 4 premierships and then go to West, but he's not making West better. At the end of the day, you do need to get those players in. Again, come from an AFL background, the draft does work. Now, free agency has changed that a little bit, and you still have to look out for it, because at the end of the day, if a club is still crap for a few years, a player will get to the end of that period of time, a great draft pick, maybe there's a go-home factor, which is ridiculous in Australia. Really, it is so stupid. Oh, I live in Adelaide. It's too far away from mum and dad's 6 hours down the road. But the problem is, once that sort of happens, it can stay the same. So you still do need that success, but it needs to change over really, really quickly. NFL, they're great. It's one of the greatest sort of, in a capitalist world, it's one of the greatest socialist things we've ever seen. So I'm a big fan of the, I know it's not me trying to push another idea onto the code, but this is the thing that maybe you just have to give some ground on. Maybe give up the nursery thing.
The big one though is, and coming from a club that's just had the most lucrative contract ever in rugby league history, and we have to wait 12 months to get that player. The Americans would be like, what? He's your star player playing a contact sport for 27 rounds for another team before you get your hands on him is insane. Yeah. To me, if there's the one glaring thing I'd love to change, I'd love a trade window. I would love, if you sign a player, he's a free agent. How much more exciting would today be, November 1st? Who's off contract, where they're going next year. Be so much more exciting, just like the draft. It would just add so much more to the rugby league calendar. I understand it's going to take a lot. There's a lot of politics through the RLPA and the players. why would they give up this system? They're going to have to give up, this 12-month window essentially. But yeah, just get back to what you were saying, to your point about fairness. I'm 100% for the draft. I just don't know how they do it. It seems like it's going to take a lot of manoeuvring. The way rugby league's set up at the moment clearly isn't set up for a draft system.
Won't happen.
No.
With the way that, so you talk about American sports and how cutthroat they are. American players would kill to have a system that's quite unionized, like the NRL. Like the position the RLPA put themselves in with like a lot of power is very rare. Why would you give that up?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and we went back to this in the 90s. Like Terry Hill was told to move, I think, from west of the Roosters or something along that lines, and it was squashed in court. And the only reason that hasn't happened in the AFL is they basically have a gentleman's agreement between the league and the Players Association that they just won't talk about it. And that's why it happens. But that just will not happen in the NRL. I think just on this last point, that I will just say that we cannot underestimate the strength and what makes a difference in clubs in an administration and money. So Canberra had this recruiter that they thought was great, and he's brought all these players to the club. The Roosters pinched him by just offering him double. You can't compete with that, and you never will. So you can find ways to still win. Hull KR in their Super League won both the Champions League, so the relegation thing, and the Super League in consecutive seasons. So it can be done on a playing ability, but it is super hard. And what makes you get better TV slots and playing each other twice and all that kind of stuff is dollars.
Not only that,
you should always play each other twice no matter what, because it bring in the dollars.
I think, a lot of punters, I think, that mightn't view rugby league as much as we do, don't understand, as you said, the business side. It's not just the 17 blokes and the coach. There's so much that happens in the background. I love kicking the Gold Coast Titans while they're down. They're always down, but there's a prime example of a team that just cannot get out of their own way. And no different to when anyone who works a job, if your company's a fucking mess, your boss is a bloody idiot, doesn't know what they're doing, well, how do you expect the rest of the team to go out and do what they need to do best? It trickles down, doesn't it? The good clubs are always at the top. Melbourne are the pinnacle. I know the Panthers have come a long, long way, in the last, 8 or so years, but you never hear a thing out of Melbourne. They're just such a well-oiled machine where other clubs just can't get out of their own way. I know we've certainly had our issues, clearly, but the good teams, as Retro was saying, a lot happens in those four walls of the clubs, and the good teams you never hear from, and that flows onto the team.
With the draft, because I personally don't follow a single sport that has the draft, so I'm pretty new to the whole thing. I've looked into it and stuff, but so at the moment with rugby league, there's a lot of clubs like Penrith who are massive on breeding their own. Does that impact Penrith then having a draft? Will that put whatever they do, they basically just have to put everyone into a pool?
That's the problem, though, because they're investing the money.
That's what I mean. The NFL draft can work.
No, it's got to be completely separated.
You'd have to tear down a lot of systems to bring it in.
Otherwise, why would the Newcastle Knights pour all this money in developing these players if they're essentially just going to go to a draft?
But the NRL won't pick up the tab.
Exactly. So
it's not happening.
This is the ultimate. This is the massive roadblock that it faces. Where in the NFL, for instance, you've got the collegial system, which is completely separated from the NFL. They're totally separate entities. So
is my point, because I reckon clubs put way too much money into development now and are under more pressure to put more money into it. That I just don't think a draft can ever work in the NRL.
It can't unless everyone. The only way I guess it could work is everyone had equal responsibility to pour, which will never happen. In an ideal world, the only theoretical way it would work is all clubs have the same amount of money and all put an equal effort into to pour into the next generation, and the best come out of that.
I don't even think that is an ideal world, because and it's been the case with the Broncos. I'm going to sound like an apologist for the Broncos since 1988. The New South Wales Rugby League has been trying to tear them down because of the great financial work that they did and the advantages they had being in Brisbane. Their version of leveling the playing field is like steal from the rich to give to the poor. I don't think that's necessarily fair. You shouldn't be demonized for being good at business, being good at developing, being good at harnessing a whole state. So when we talk about what's fair, sometimes that means like, oh, here's this club that's just hopeless. Let's take from these guys and prop them up, and that's fair. It's just going to get the money poured down the drain. These guys will keep doing their thing. Nothing will really change. So if you want to make things fair, you've got to somehow teach people to be better businessmen or something. I don't know. Like the best you can do is some minor tweaks on draws and stuff. things will just not change until things happen in the back office.
Well, I think the Raiders are a prime example of a club that, let's be honest, there's always been the joke, no one wants to live in Canberra. Why would you go? Who wants to go live in Canberra when you can go live on the Gold Coast? You know what I mean? But look at them. Here they are. They won the minor premiership. They were, featured heavily in finals this year. They made a grand final, how many years? Six years ago. They're a club that thinks outside the box. We all know their recruitment drive, getting these English players in. They've obviously heavily invested into their youth. They're thinking outside the box, and it's paid dividends. So I think, clubs have just got to be a bit smarter. They understand it's not a clear playing field. I'm sure you would ask plenty of people in rugby league circles, and they would go, absolutely it isn't. But it's the world we live in. There's no point crying about it. We just got to do things a little bit differently. We can't do the Roosters and throw endless money at getting the best players or the best recruiters or the best coaching stuff or whatever. You got to think differently, and the good clubs seem to do it. I mean, kudos to the Raiders. They nearly pulled it off this year.
I can't disagree with everyone more. Sorry, Retro. I can't.
That's why we're here, brother.
Like, I understand the whole business side of things. I get it, and I truly, as a common sense and I think I'm a learned and intelligent person. I get the idea.
You are wearing this, mate.
Which exit did you take from the tunnel this morning?
Yeah, that was not my fault. That was the old sat nav. But I get it. I get that it's very difficult, and it can but it's not impossible. Things can change. All right. That's the thing that I don't like about the NRL is that too often people don't like change. Like we don't embrace it in terms of what needs to happen, in terms of how we make the culture the same. It's like anytime a rule changes, you get this big uproar of a minority, but they're very loud that they don't like the rule change because it's changing the fabric of the game. Well, yeah, but we're 2025 now, about to go to 2026. Things have changed. Medical things have changed. Context around money has changed. All sorts of things. We're in a social media world now. It's different. Things can change. We can definitely go down the draft. And if we want to, there's two ways you can do it. So you can either go down the American way where a draft is a draft. This is where you go. The competition, the teams manage it themselves. You have player options, and then and you're essentially there for 4 to 5 years. And then you sign your big contract after that, become a max contract, and blah, 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 blah. And then that's what they do it over there. And then the draft is purely around, the lowest team gets the first. Or in the NBA, you've got the most balls in the bucket, and we all know that the NBA fixes that. But essentially, that's what they do. The NFL is literally just the worst team in the competition gets the first pick, and off it goes through. So you can go down that way. The AFL does that, where they got the worst team gets the first pick, and off they go. Problem with what the AFL does is what you were alluding to, Nick, around that they could the number one pick can sit there and go, I'm homesick within the first few weeks. And
he's got a 2-year contract, but after that, I don't like this.
That's right. And then so they just start talking around, and off they go. And I don't necessarily like that, but you could go down that path. But the AFL, they invest a crap load of money into their junior pathways programs and manage that. Like, let's talk around the team that I follow in Sydney, but all the Melbourne teams have that too. That's why they started to push out, like the Western Bulldogs push out to the Western Corridor, which is your Ballarats and Sunburys and that sort of way to try and get that talent in the country footy. You can certainly do that in the NRL. They invest that, and then what happens is that they then manage their draft picks in terms of points, and then whoever is in that junior program that they really love and that think that they get points, and then they move it up, and then that's how they pick those guys and go from there. Sydney are currently in a position at the moment where they've got 5 guys they want to pick, but they probably won't be able to get all 5 because they've used their points in other ways. But Sydney developed that. So that is what it is. So we're still investing in our junior program. All these clubs are still investing in their junior program and their pathways, and so they should, because it shouldn't just be about them. They should be investing in the competition. They should be investing in the future. They should be investing in the players.
What happens to that pathways players when they're ready to go? Like, can they just shoot them up into their senior team? Or
no, you have to be drafted.
You have to be drafted.
That's the part where I don't think you'd go across the line with any club.
We're a pub talk here. We could talk anything. Everything's out the bat. So, let's not get into that negative mind frame around. Let's not create change or whinge about the fact that they can't do it. They can. They just won't at the moment. But there can be something. There's got to be things pushed through in the forward, but in the future. But yeah. it's definitely a way that can happen. So Penrith can still invest heavily in their junior program. And then when the Luais and the Clearys and that come through the junior program and come up and they identify that that's who they want, well, when it's their year to come out, it's I need to make sure I've got the points, or I need to make sure I've got the draft picks to make sure that I get that person. So like there are still ways we can do it, and they still need to invest in it.
Yeah, that's a good sort of halfway there, because what you're describing is like the academies, and a lot of the northern academies they sort of brought that in to help prop them up in the outside of a Victorian market or outside of a traditional state. But hypothetically, so it would be keeping with the system that we currently have in the NRL. So let's look at the Broncos, for example. They've got some good young crop. They've got Trav coming up through the Burleigh Bears. I like this kid. We've got about 5 of them, but he's my number one here. So yeah, he's got to 18. I know league players come through maybe they take a little bit longer to develop. They don't all just come in at 18 like a lot of AFL players do. But we go, all right, we really like this bloke. Let's get all our points together. Let's take him. And we're going to move some draft picks around, get the points right, and hopefully we can take Link as well, because we really want to invest in him. We go, yep, he's now in our system. Guys, you can keep playing for the Bears all the way through. Like, we're not done with you. We can take you as a mature age. We can take you next year. Or we know that maybe someone else is going to take you, and that's okay. And just hope that maybe we can play the go-home card a little bit later on.
And then recently the AFL just added the mid-season drafts. So
yeah.
Now when you've got this guy who's dominating in the resis for the first part of the year or had the year before, and they go, right, well, he hasn't been quite ready. We didn't want to take a younger guy for it. Or coming straight out of the TAC Cup, so the under-18s and going in. Well, he wasn't ready to be drafted. Now he's gone and playing VFL or QFL, Quaffle, and all that sort of stuff. Oh, he's dominating. All right, mid-season draft, boom, now I pick him up. But the bottom team gets that first pick, and that's how it gets propped up. So then there's another draft on top of that to pick up the extra guys like Link, who's just chilling in the background. Like, it's...
You can make, and that's a good thing about, because rugby league rides its own rules. You can bring in a system, but you can make up your own system. You can build it exactly how you want. You don't have to take in a whole system. Oh, that will never work, because you're not buying someone's system. You can build your own if you want.
The massive upside to that would be, because I think there's one thing that the Americans do really well is the excitement of the young players. And I think currently the way it's set up, there's no one's looking down and going, as you said, draft picks. Like, how exciting would it be, like, if the Knights going, oh man, is this gun prop forward? Like, just me personally as a content creator would love to speculate, oh, how are we going to do this?
Whole market
this guy.
for it.
And it'll shine so much more light on the next generation of player, which will ultimately lead to more people wanting to play our sport. If that's a whole thing in and of itself, which is really hasn't been embraced, a draft night would be huge, but just throughout the year, keeping tabs on these young guys. Oh, who's this Brisbane guy? Geez, he'd really suit us. Or what's Brisbane done? They've let him go and Penrith have snatched him up, or whatever the narrative might be. It would shine way more light on the Reggie system than what it currently kind of is at the moment.
But if you even look at the basketball and what the basketball does in terms of how they do their draft and identification, the NRL wants to become a worldwide sport, right? I mean, his global round 2027 is all the talk in the last week.
Great idea.
And I love it. I'm all for it. One of the things their basketball does really well, especially obviously with the NBA and the draft, is world talent. So there's a bulk. There's 15 Aussies over there that have been drafted, and most of them pretty high, that are playing in the NBA. There's Europeans, there's Africans, there's all sorts of things. Like it's.
We got a Canadian guy from the academy in our ranks. What was the didn't Nick Politis had a fair bit to do with it? Marcus Diaker, we signed. He's a Canadian guy through the, it was like a combine held over in Vegas, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Like the Roosters have purchased a team in LA, for LA Roosters.
I think it had something to do with that.
And they're also looking at purchasing Salford Red Devils and possibly rebranding them as Salford Roosters. I hope they actually stay as Red Devils. But anyway, yeah, look, I think there's actually, without overhauling all that part of the system, which I will maintain, I just don't think will happen. There is another side where you can push and pump more energy and content and whatever into Q Cup, New South Wales Cup, and you get more attention through the youth in that regard as well. A lot of these clubs have no money, or
so we bring back, like, isn't there talk about that old youth comp? That's in their far more leagues, like something that's not segregated. not segregated, like something that's.
But I actually think the segregation is good. Like, so we tried.
But do people
NYC.
care about it? That's what I'm saying. Like,
But here's the thing, right? So at the moment, NYC came. No one really cared about it, just burn a heap of cash and then it disappeared for not for no reason. But what you can do, especially with the behest of content creators, is start plugging them into Ipswich. Sunshine Coast Falcons. This is just Queensland we're talking about here. North, the Carter boys have done some stuff with North Devils. Make it cool to turn up to North Devils games. Make it fun. Put on cheap beers. Make it an activity. Like sit on the hill and just watch your local team. The old Brisbane comp used to thrive.
oh yeah, yeah.
And there is scope for there. The clubs don't have either the scope or the money to do it. But here's this whole new wave of media that can help them. They've just got to cross that bridge, and that is a far more achievable prospect than the notion of a draft.
All right, let's just move away slightly from the draft. My last thing on the draft was just that things like what we've just seen with Penrith, that wouldn't happen if we had a draft. And for me, I don't like that. I like to see clubs be rewarded for going all in and make, like in 2018-19 when Penrith decided, let's just have a year or two where we just really blood these good youngsters coming through. And I can see it now in my club, the Eels, they've got some good young kids. They've made some recruitment decisions around, we want to have them in 2027 or something. If we've got a draft, we've got a big chance we lose someone like Lorenzo, and that whole planning just goes to waste. So I just personally, from my point of view, and like I said, I've never been into a sport that does draft, so I don't get all the excitement around and everything, but just from my point of view, looking at the club side of it, I don't like that at all.
Well, come NFL draft night, we'll get him over, mate. We'll watch it. It's a whole thing. It's awesome.
It'd be like,
it's so good.
It's
so good, mate. It's
the
so
other
good.
big talking point for the NRL and in terms of fairness is salary cap. It's just, it feels from a fan's point of view, it is a bit all over the shop. Wealthy clubs can do a lot more than some of the other clubs. But again, what you go back to, Retro, in terms of just having the right business people does make a huge difference. Now, you say that because the Roosters probably have two of the best businessmen in the country at their disposal, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, but I'd also argue that for the Brisbane Broncos. I'd argue that for probably certainly the current Bulldogs administration.
Melbourne Storm.
Melbourne Storm. Parramatta aren't doing too bad now. They've had some shocking days in the past. Souths, millionaire owners, so that stuff can help. So I don't think it's just isolated to the Roosters. Yeah,
I think it depends where you are too. Like, let's be honest. Like, when it comes to chasing that corporate dollar, if you've got a saturated market like Sydney is, it's going to be a lot harder, isn't it? Compared to, say, even like, I'll use Newcastle. Like, Newcastle certainly doesn't have like maybe the corporate opportunity.
You had Tinkler.
Yeah, let's not go there.
Well,
yeah. That would sound great in theory, but yeah, look, some clubs just don't have the corporate, I guess, luxuries that other clubs are afforded, I suppose. Like, if you've got the Broncos are a prime example. Like, for how long did they have Brisbane all unto themselves? Like, a capital city, born and bred.
Well, they own the
rugby
state.
league
They basically
football.
own the state.
Rugby league football. Like, how much easier is that than say, all right,
Only in 2004, 2005 did kids grow up saying, I want to be a Cowboy. From 1988 to 2005, everyone wanted to be a Brisbane Bronco.
Yeah. So how much easier is that to go chase some corporate sponsorship opposed to down the road, the Gold Coast Titans, for instance? Yeah. Is there a bigger appetite out there? Do they have that at their disposal? Well, they do. I'm not saying there's not any money at all, but it is far easier. Let's be honest.
But to your direct point, Joel, about the salary cap, I think when you look at the UK Super League, you can see what they're doing is so far behind to what we're doing. So the salary cap does work. There is a functional part of it. There is a part, though, that sits very murky, and that's third-party payment.
Yes, correct.
And so we just need a whole lot more transparency around that. There obviously is, because it still has to be registered with the NRL, but there's also nothing stopping a club through a third-party developer offering a house to a player for $1.
What?
And they name names.
No.
But or
very
low job that paid
the people who used to work in media marketing and used to be just wearing a polo, or the rumors we hear about golf days with $50,000 bets on putts and stuff like that. So you will never totally squash it, but the step you can take next is more transparency around these payments and how they're factored in, and how that is all calculated. It won't go all the way, but it will at least give us a bit more of a scope.
Why is it? The transparency is the word of the day. Why is it in Australian sport it's so taboo to know salary cap.
Oh,
Why
it pisses me off.
this speculation? It drives me insane.
I think
because
we've sort of workplace culture of that. That goes all the way through.
Exactly.
We don't,
Yeah,
we
exactly.
don't talk about money.
Unless you're a government employee.
Yeah.
And then everyone knows your wages.
yeah,
You've got a good,
I don't know. I just think, as you were saying,
ridiculous.
it's at what point do you go from here to here and go, if you want to be this, if we wanted the sport to grow globally, we got to start thinking like the big boys do, and you go, well, you know what? Those were the days. Like, back in the day, we used to work. The boys used to have a job. You know, used to watch a football play and have their bloody occupation on there. Those days are gone. Well, the next step is, okay, full transparency. We know what this player's on. We're going to end
It
speculation.
doesn't even have to be that we, the fans, know. It's just someone's got to know. So salary cap auditors and the NRL, they're just the ones. They're the ones who ratify the contracts and stuff. So they're the ones who really need to know exactly what's going on. And also the ability for someone to come in and question that, third parties to come in and question that. So as long as that exists in a good state, it doesn't really matter if Joe Bloggs down at the local pub knows how much Reece Walsh is on. But if the right people know, and that's also able to be assessed from, so it's not just a boys' club where they just say it's okay and no one's allowed to look. Someone's got to be able to have.
I don't know. See, as a supporter, I would like to know. Like, I think it's not like, I'm like, this is my goddamn right. But it's like, well, as a supporter of the club, why
I
should
think it is. I think it is your goddamn right to know exactly what everyone on your list in your team that you support, that you're a member, that you pay to watch, that you pay your subscriptions, that you pay your tickets to go to, should know. You should know how much Fletcher Sharp is on. You should know how much the lowest guy is on.
So American sports, it's all public.
It's transparent. Completely. There's no speculation. Or
And
how many
actually-
times do you see,
And to be fair, they're actually all, as soon as they're drafted, we know. So
Now,
the number one pick is, this is how much they get. They get this much for this amount of time. And they're all got it. Then second and third, they get less, and it's incremental, and that's what they get. And they get that for 2 to 3 to 4 years, and then after that, they then sign an extension, and then they sign a max extension, and there's all types of things in that. And the NFL is exactly the same. We know how much they're getting paid.
even all the bonuses, right? Then they're like, they
know
play
how much.
X amount.
Yep.
If
it's all
this
written,
young
contracts
yeah.
are out there. Contracts are public. It's as
That's
simple
what
as
gets
that.
confusing.
See, I'd like to see that too. Trigger clauses, all this, because I'd like to know how my player, again, if I'm a paid up member, I want to know how his performance is going, rather than what's drip fed to us, whether through media or through the club. I would love to see transparency, and like it's because all it's stopping us really is just our sort of this national tall poppy syndrome. Because we go, oh, he makes more than me, he should be doing this. Yes, in the US where it's an ungodly amount of money that no one, 4 or 5 million here or there means nothing to them, so they know they're far enough, it's hard. But
There is another reason that the ATO would like to know about is exactly what money is going where and who it is that isn't paying tax on it.
And so it should be.
But I agree. But and that's why I think just at least the right people need to know. But let's not, as we talk about American sports, let's not pretend that America is this utopia where everything is so great. Because there are things like we say that in the US system, it happens like this as a business, but people get left behind. And that's the difference in Australia. In a cultural thinking, there's a lot more emphasis on the right. And you might argue it's a little more unionized, a little more socialist or whatever, but there's more emphasis on the right and the protecting of the individual at the expense of the company, rather than the US where it's just trading cattle and people get left on the floor.
I challenge that with the NRL, but and this is a point we're going to talk about. I think the NRL as a whole think more about their product and protecting themselves. It's the reason why they don't often challenge calls that should have been challenged, or they don't come out and go, well, that was the wrong call too often, or then I think the players on the other side have this view of we know we've got the power, so we can do that. Like, they're butting heads a little bit. So I actually think the NRL don't care so much about the players. Otherwise, things would be
No, they I'm not saying the NRL care. I'm saying that Australian society and workplace law is set up to protect people better, and that's represented by the RLPA as it is in many other parts.
we're talking
of the
about
workplace.
protecting players, we're thinking of the other way of thinking, players that play too much. There is probably a lot of guys a lot of journos who inflate their value, and they're probably in the media are probably crucified more, and they probably love to come and go, mate, I'm not on that. You know, it can work both ways. You can get a guy who's on massive unders, and he gets more praise. You know what I mean? So I think it can work both ways. And that's it. I don't think it's all negative. No one a bloke.
And I'm totally on board with what you're saying in terms of, I'm not saying that also that the NRL or clubs are even saints. We know there's shonky deals that happen in times where players are about to get bonuses if they play X amount of games and they're mysteriously rested for one more game, so they don't get those bonuses. And so I think that is the role of the RLPA and whatever to step in that space that a lot of other codes and sports would be extremely jealous of.
Finally, just because we do need to move on to the next big talking point, players, should we be paying the players more?
Yes.
So at the moment, I had a look the other night doing some notes and things like that. We're one of the lowest in terms of sporting codes, what we actually give back from our revenue to our players. We're sitting at, for this year, it's been reported about, we gave back about 30%, or the NRL gave back 30%. There's other out there that are up to like 40, 45% of their revenue goes straight back into playing other players and things like that. Should we be rewarding our players more than we currently are?
It's going to come down to the new TV deal, really. That's what they're really holding out for. And I hope the RLPA, when that all goes through, that they do try their best. Because, yeah, absolutely. I think players, and we can debate this till the cows come home, but I think we've got a pretty partisan crowd here. This is their life. A rugby league player, especially come through the rugby league system, is you give your life to this from when you are 14. You put your education to the side. It is all or nothing. You might some players are lucky. Some players can actually be scholars at the same time, but many have to even put aside work, put aside their bodies. They give everything for this. This is their full-time occupation. And we talk about whether we the fan are holding them to their contracts and their performance. They are now watched in the social media era 24/7. This is their life. Absolutely, they should be paid more.
Yeah, I think that's pretty unanimous, isn't it, guys? That we're all in agreement there.
Yeah, just pay. I think pay should always be commensurate with revenue and stuff like that. So TV rights deals.
I guess like the only devil's advocate thing is I just don't know. I think when PVL was handed the NRL, clearly there was some massive, we were massively exposed. There was a reason why we were pushing so goddamn hard to get eyes back on rugby league football. So you would like to think since that COVID era, we've sorted out the NRL as a game where we're not so exposed. They've invested quite well. So I guess the only devil's advocate is there a little bit more they need to do to make sure that's not going to happen and get some stuff behind the scenes.
But you know where that money's come from. So all that money that used to go to grassroots and just get pushed back into the game, I'm not saying it was invested well, but that was the mindset that we never hold money in our hands. We take it, we push it back, has now been pushed into assets. And that was originally done under COVID. We need to protect ourselves. They bought the pub across the road here, Gabaros. That's all good, but where is the bush game going? Where's the country?
I guess you can't do how do you do both at the same time? Do you have a little bit of hurt and go, geez, we need to make tough decisions now for the longevity? I know this is going to suffer. It sucks. Old administration should have done this stuff. I don't think anyone's going to argue. PVL sort of walked into this and go, what on? This is ridiculous. This is crazy. How can this game literally fall over if we don't get our eyes on it immediately? Where the AFL sort of position themselves much more favourably. So I understand. I'm not arguing against players should be paid more, but I guess as a devil's advocate kind of argument is maybe some moves the NRL are still looking to try and shore up before they go throwing with more money at players.
With 50 mil that they just made in profit that they announced in February this year in their annual report, which I guarantee Abdo and Volandis will advertise even more come February in their next annual report. What are they doing with that?
Well, you're talking about global rounds. I don't know. Who knows? The expansion clubs.
That's still profit.
That's
actual
I don't
profit.
know.
So that's in their annual report. They've spoken around how much they invested in Vegas, what they've invested in grassroots, what they put into clubs, what they pay their employees, what they donate, all that. It's completely itemized. And it still comes out in the green with 50 mil. I think it was actually more than that. But let's just go with that, 50 mil. So that's what they did in their annual report they put out in February this year. And Abdo spoke at the end of the year with his grand final speech that it's actually going to be even more again. So next year it's going to be even more. Invest half of that into the players. Put that into that. So it's very simple. Let's not wait for the friggin' TV deal. Yeah, the TV deal is going to help, definitely, but let's put this money into these players because this is where it should be. And to go completely with the salary cap, I just think everything should be transparent. Every club should be exactly the same on the transparency with the salary cap, and we scrap the third party payments.
Well, talking about that, then we'll use the highest paid. Let's say a $1 million player today, right? Let's just use that as a baseline. Where do you think then should that player's value realistically be then? If they're worth $1 million now, how much? You're saying, they should be worth double. Should these guys on $1 million? They should be
1.4.
They're saying about, what, 30%?
Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
30,
Bump?
25% at least.
Yeah.
Well, if you're saying before you said that currently the revenue
They're at
is
30%,
30%, and
I'd go up to 40%.
there you go. So you're increasing at 10%. So your 1 goes to 1.1.
And just for the sake of, and here's where this really is going to back up your argument here. I don't do Code Wars, but you guys are running rings around rugby union at the moment. And look at these players who are growing up going, could I play union or league? Transferable skill set. We've always known that. Well, geez, I could either hold out, play some crap Super Rugby and maybe dream of a Wallabies jersey, or I could get paid some seriously good money for my skill set to go into one of the, probably now at the time, 18 rugby league teams.
Well, I guess that's maybe...
If it's more lucrative, you're as an 18-year-old, or you as a teenager growing up going, where am I going to invest my time? I'm going to pay my fees. I'm going to play for these clubs, go all the way through junior footy, because I know there's a serious career in this.
Let's move on. Expansion. It's a very, very exciting time in our game over the next couple of years. Already 2 confirmed teams, and it's inevitable that we'll get to a 20th team at some point. Thoughts on Perth first? Let's talk about them, boys. Retro, you can start us off.
Yeah, sure. So firstly, I like the idea of going... Yeah, this is the Super League philosophy getting brought to life. And so heading over to Perth, happy with that. A lot of money that's ready to be splashed over there. Like 2 big concerns with Perth Bears as such. One, like Bears back, whatever, like cool, sure. And the branding and the old North Sydney club and those fans that you'll get across will actually travel to Perth. I'm not so sure, but they'll turn up to the North Sydney games. Do kids care about the Bears? I don't know. I don't think so, actually. So you have to convince the people of Perth and WA kids why that bear has anything to do with them. So that's the success or the failure of the Bears, is how do they take a entity, an identity, and transform it and embed it into the WA landscape so that people feel like it's their team.
Which is a 5-hour flight away.
Yeah.
Well, didn't the AFL do that with the Swans?
Yes, they did. And they've done it relatively same with the Brisbane Lions. Fitzroy did that as well. But they've made it feel like Brisbane. They've made it feel like Sydney. They still have their links back to North Sydney. And originally, going back to the Bears, sorry, I had heard that the North Sydney, the NS 1908 logo was going to be on either the jerseys or on the logo. There is an interesting story, though, I'm hearing more and more about that Perth team, that things may have started to go a little rogue, and what originally was a great partnership between the Bears and WA is starting to look more like WA team with a bear logo.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Well, that's it's unconfirmed, but that's the whispers, and they're multiple growing louder.
But they're not coming as the koala bears.
That
Massive.
from the beginning.
Drop bear.
I mean, that was the original thing where they had that original consortium. They basically wanted the Western Reds, and that failed with the Bears logo. And it was pitched now as, here's this great union, but before it even comes across, it's starting to add a lot more.
Red bear.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. So the problem is, geographically for, Fitzroy fans go to Brisbane, or, moving up to the Swans up to Sydney. Perth and Sydney have nothing in common with each other. First of all, Perth and WA, they are their own country. And they'll openly tell you that. But the good thing is they'll be able to have that Sunday twilight spot that the AFL always puts the Dockers and Eagles game in. That'll work. People in Perth, at least they have a lot of disposable income and not much to do over there. They will get behind their teams. But the thing is, they have to be their own teams. They have their own, like Brisbane and Queensland do. It is an identity. And that Sydney Bears element, I think, great for getting it off the ground. But I'm not surprised to hear that there's been a big WA pushback.
Are they going to care though? Like, if
They have time on their hands.
If people over there really don't know the ins and outs of rugby league, do they even know or even care really to get their foot in the door about the
Reds
whole?
were loved over there. The Reds actually were loved over there, and there was definitely a hole in the market there because, AFL sort of runs the town, but they need that option, and people turned up for the Force. They've turned up for the glory. Like
Wildcats are huge over there.
Massive
BL team.
They have a massive fan base over there, so the Perth people will turn up, but it has to be ingrained in them. Like they are only fans of their own team, and it needs to be their own. So I think the Bears have to be. I spoke to Billy Moore about this. I've spoken to Bears fans about this, and they love it. And this North Sydney split will be good for the start. But I reckon after a couple of years, we'll probably see a renaming, and if it gets off the ground, and I really want this to work as well, because one, the NRL need to have the more national outlook here. there's absolutely a spot for them, but they're going to have to give some ground to the WA side, and that may come at the expense of the old Bears identity.
The worry for me is that it feels like everyone that's saying they love it and are so passionate about it are Sydney people. We haven't really got many Perth people yet that have been like so keen to see the Perth Bears, so keen to see it start. It feels like they've hated rugby league for a long time.
Yeah.
I know they get behind Origin, but that's a completely different spectacle where I'd probably argue half of the fans actually travel over there for of Origin.
Yep,
like
yep.
I'm just
and
very...
Perth is a hostile environment
Yeah.
too. So the day that the Bears were announced, I think the headlines of the WA papers read along the lines of, "Isn't this such an awful thing that this has gone across?"
Well, mind you, that's because that was Seven West running out and Seven with the AFL, and they've only got one paper in town, and that is a Channel 7 run. So that was always they're always going to smash them. So not off to a great start there, but they need to build an identity, and for a fan engagement thing, they need to position themselves. Now that the Force are pretty much gone, you need to say, hey, we are a different identity. We are an alternative. We need to create our own thing.
If someone would have told you, though, like, when did the Storm come in? 98?
Yep.
How many years is that? Nearly
28 years ago?
28 years ago. That, okay, this team that's coming in are going to be the premier sporting organisation in Australia, going to be the most successful rugby league team. You'd be, no way. Like, what, in Melbourne?
Yeah.
This new purple team coming out of nowhere.
Now we're doing it out of that part as well.
You know why that is? Because of good administration.
Well, that's right. So this is why they got to nail it. And I'm sure, look, this is all speculative stuff. Look, the Bears might come out and play some really great football. It's all forgotten. Who cares? They're playing football. I think it's a lot of noise at the moment because
I don't even think the quality of the football matters. The most poignant thing is that they get boots on the ground and get amongst the kids and the people. In particular, I'm pointing at the kids because kids, like, that is where you go.
Yep. Well, shout out to the Karratha Kangaroos. They won the community award. They've done amazing work over WA, killing it.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Karratha Kangaroos. Sent me some kit. But no, they're making some really good headway there. And I think if they can market it, like, the Westies hate us, do that.
Yeah.
West versus East. This is our team.
Yep.
Bugger these bloody dickheads from Sydney and Brisbane and whatever. If they think this is their competition, we'll take over this
Siege mentality.
Yeah, I think if they can lean into a little bit of that. But you're right, the time slot makes sense. I'm sure, like, there's nothing else really much to talk about. Maybe some signings come to be if they nail a big dog.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm hearing is very little interest in getting interest from players to go to Perth.
That's my big worry.
If there's no interest in going to Perth, how's there going to be any interest in going to Papua New Guinea?
That's money, mate.
Money. No, well, if you listen to it, there's been about half a dozen players that have just come out and said, I'm going to get paid a lot. It's going to be tax-free, but I still don't want to go there. That's been put on the record the last couple of weeks. So, no, money's not going to speak. It'll speak to the Islanders and those Pacific guys, but it won't speak to the full talent levels.
But isn't the whole goal of, like, the PNG bid eventually is it to be like their national team? Like,
yes,
maybe for now, for the next 10 years or so, it's going to obviously need to have a lot of Australians. But long term,
a national team,
it's going to be it's going to be what 85%.
It's a pipe.
No, it is exactly
at the end because you got to remember, like, I know we're switching tacks here from Perth. If you've got all these, like, high talented, Highlands Jungle kids, you cannot contact them.
Yeah.
You can't send them an email. You can't call them. You either have to fly there or you have to walk there and give them a letter. So there is a huge untapped pipeline.
Yep.
Under the schoolboys last year, I think the PNG schoolboys beat the Australian schoolboys side. So I'm on board with you and say, like, it is a hard sell. And no one's going to go there. Aussies aren't going to go there for more than 3 years max. You'll get a lot of country kids who just want a shot at the NRL and they'll do whatever, or fringe city kids or whatever. But there will be a large slice of people who just say, I just like living in Bondi, thank you, I won't go.
So I've been very public and loud about my thoughts on whether I like Perth and Papua New Guinea, and I've copped it, and so has Joel with it when we spoke about Papua New Guinea, unfortunately. But I'm not a fan of either of them, to be fair. So the initial question is thoughts on Perth and thoughts on Papua New Guinea. I'm not a fan. I actually don't think. I think I would have loved just keeping 16 teams, and my thoughts was that. I don't mind going to 18 teams, but I think they've picked the two really poor locations, in my opinion. To skip out in my I'm dumbfounded that they skipped out on West Brisbane. I think that was just that's a big potential that I was really keen on. and South New Zealand.
Oh, bro,
That'll
Makes
happen.
no sense to me.
That's
That will happen, but that should have been now.
bro, I had the pleasure of watching the Knights play in Christchurch, and I can tell you it went off. You got that massive new stadium being built there. Looks unreal.
It's the two teams. That's what it should have been.
Ipswich. I used to do a little bit of work with the Ipswich Jets. I was told that 80% of Broncos members reside in Ipswich.
Yep.
Huge. So you can see why maybe the Broncos probably don't want that to happen.
Yes.
But it's inevitable. It has to happen. Like the rivalry between Ipswich and Brisbane would be huge.
Yes, again, it's identity and status. That is the main thing you need to get a team up and running. It's why teams,
You just tried the Jets immediately. Like you got the old Alan Langer Walters connection there. It would make sense.
Just before we move on to that side of it, just quickly back on the Perth and the PNG side of things, I'm personally much more confident that it's weird to say, I'm actually more confident that PNG, the more and more I've thought about things and listened to things, I'm actually more confident PNG will work over Perth. I'm actually more into that camp at the moment. And I actually do think money will be a huge factor in that, because young guys coming through, if they can get a $400,000 deal for 2-3 years to start their career off tax-free money, that is absolutely massive. That is huge. That is like someone on, I think, about 800 or 900K, I think they worked out, ends up basically earning, if not the same, just less than that.
Yeah.
That's huge. And look, they'll be saved. There'll be so much pressure on PNG to get this right that it'll be yet a compound as such. I don't like it being called that, but that's what it's going to be. Not the worst place to be living in.
Oh, mate, their fans are going to go absolutely
Did you see the scenes of the
right.
Broncos Premiership trophies?
Yeah.
Incredible. Like, the passion there is incredible. I reckon the best thing you can do, and AFL teams in northern markets have done this well in the past, is you've actually got to take people who have, so let's say they can get 2 Panthers academy youngsters, bring them up together. If you have a bunch of individuals all there going together, doesn't work. You need to have country boys, absolutely. You need to get people from the country, and you need to get people who go, yeah, you know what, this is my chance, but I'm going to do it with a mate. I'm not going to feel alone. I've got someone.
Yeah. Even young, like people have been talking about the families and that, even like a young family, if you've got a toddler or something over for like 2 or 3 years, them growing up in that age bracket, I don't think it's the worst place to be bringing up something like.
Can we also say with Perth and PNG in particular, we're talking about Perth. Firstly, I think Perth's worked before; it'll work again. But secondly, I know they're struggling with signings right now. Know who else struggled with signings? Redcliffe Dolphins. Yeah, so they're in the heart of Brisbane. Everything fine in Brisbane. I couldn't get Brandon Smith. Yeah, so
have they given them? Is there more time for them? Because that was a great.
I don't think the Dolphins. I don't think they actually struggled with the recruitment. They struggled to land a big fish, which they were so big.
Yeah, but how long did they
realise they didn't really need it?
When did the Dolphins get announced, and how long did they have to sign? I mean, that was a big criticism because it was like they should have had more.
I think they still got the same 12-month window that every NRL team gets.
Yeah, okay.
Which I think is a shame. But yes,
anyway, so areas that we think Trav's already kicked us off on that. I think we're all in agreement that the second New Zealand team is just a must. It is just a must. Do we think another Queensland team is a must?
Yeah,
I'm against it, actually.
I think it is.
Ipswich all the way. 100%. Unequivocally.
Yep.
It'll work.
What happens then? Do we merge someone to make it? I think 20-team comp, it needs to be 20-team and that's it.
If you can have, how many teams are in Sydney at the moment?
I would say too many.
7, I think it is. No, 9? Top of my head.
But that's my argument against Brisbane. Why are we just trying to create a new Sydney?
Do you want just?
But it's not so. Like Ipswich is like, what's Ipswich? One of the fastest growing regional areas.
We're that Springfield area.
It's like
Parramatta.
It's going to be
you mean like Penrith?
Yeah, that's
exactly the same.
Yeah, but I'm saying though, but they haven't got. Brisbane hasn't got 4 or 5 other teams here as well. They've only got the Dolphins. They've only got there's enough. Put it this way: the way that ideally Sydney probably would have been set up. Is not having a cluster of these teams. They are kind of dotted out like South East Queensland should be. One in Ipswich, one in Brisbane, one in the north of Brisbane, one on the Gold Coast. I think that works. I think that works really, really well. And if you're going to lean into a conference system, geez, what a bloody mad conference that'd be.
I think we should be aiming to get 2 games a week at Suncorp. That would just be a dream.
Yeah, I mean, but agreed. I just think, 1, do you really need to create a new Sydney bubble again? 2, if every Queensland team you introduce, it does harm the other ones. So your market share always comes down, down, down. And so the Dolphins only just got off the ground. Let's just not starve them of members and stuff they've only just got going. But we say like, oh, like they're so dotted, they're so far apart in Queensland, between Brisbane and Ipswich or Brisbane and Redcliffe. I mean, from here to Redcliffe is what, half an hour?
I don't really put in that part of town.
Yeah. There you go. Manly to Bondi is an hour. It's further away.
Yeah, but
Wollongong to Sydney as like an hour and a half.
As the Dolphins grow, it'll be the whole Sunshine Coast. It'll be that whole north area.
Well, that's what they should be doing, but they're not.
Like
That's actually incredible that they aren't.
Yes,
It is.
then you got like Toowoomba.
Surely they'll.
It's not even mentioning Toowoomba in that mix as well. Like that whole
corridor.
To me, it's a no-brainer.
I missed the trick on that one.
And they've got that heritage. You can just literally, like the Dolphins did, just bring that up. Like it's no different. Just didn't they have a little thing with the old Newtown Jets? There was a little. I think they even lent a little. Yeah, get them not like we'll even
Jets, Newtown Jets. There was an idea.
A little story for you. There was an idea at one stage of a 3-way bid between Central Queensland, Toowoomba, and the Jets. Didn't get off the ground. The other one is East Brisbane. They're the ones who proposed the Firehawks. Awful name.
Awful terrible
logo, everything. I just don't think Queensland really needs it. The only way you would do it, is if you got rid of some Sydney clubs, which caused huge upheaval, and did that again. I'd rather go in other areas.
Where would you go then? If you're going to go New Zealand, but where also? Because we're going to need another team.
No, that's it.
No, you only need one more.
Are you assuming that one of them doesn't work, or like if you just get to pick one more because one fails?
Well, let's say if you had if you had 3, put 3.
You need an even number to start with.
Do your ultimate 3 before PNG and Perth were both confirmed? What would you have gone for?
Do you know back in the day they were trying to New South Wales Rugby League wanted to put a team in Albury-Wodonga because it was right on the border of New South Wales and Victoria.
Shout out to you, Albury.
Wagga was another one too.
That's a true story.
I don't know. Because I've just been so focused on PNG and Perth, right? I like the idea of expansion, so I don't think Adelaide's any good.
No.
The final thing with the Queensland one, it's growing literally every week. More and more people are moving up here. It's getting bigger and bigger. Like I know it potential to dilute, I guess, sponsorships and that, but Dolphins are already one of the richest clubs in the comp. They've been here for 3 years.
But that's a hangover from 1947.
They've always been low.
But they're still.
I know.
Happening.
That's why they got the bid, because they were financially.
The only club in Queensland that would hate having an extra team, in my opinion, would be the Titans. They would just absolutely. In my opinion, that would
either.
But they'll survive easily.
Yeah, well, they don't like it.
There's not many Sydney clubs that I know. Most Sydney clubs aren't happy with how many Sydney clubs are in there still at the moment, but they've got to deal with it. Like I think what we've got to do now is stop letting clubs dictate what will be the best thing for the competition in the long run. And for mine, that means another Queensland team. That will be the best thing for the game moving forward. There is so much talent in Queensland, I hate to say it, being a New South Welshman, but it's the reason why they keep doing so well.
It's crazy. Like until the Crushers departed, like the fact there wasn't a local derby in Brisbane is insane. Is insane. Like it's crazy. That's why I love the South Island team. You can create, like imagine those derbies. It'd be huge. Those games, like we know the Wars get around it. But you give them like another, like a rival. They haven't got rivalry. My biggest issue with the NRL at the moment is there's not enough rivalry.
And you can't
there is no enough. That's why I love conferences, because it immediately makes rivalries. I love that. I don't think there's enough hatred in rugby league.
Tries their best to get away from that, though. In terms of if a player comes out and says something that's against the grain, they're basically publicly criticised. And
not only that, but not even from a player to player, but it just in general.
Away from all.
I want to see more Roosters, Rabbitohs, rivalry.
Oh, me too. Yeah,
there needs more of that. There's not enough of it. I think Brisbane and the Dolphins will start to get that.
But
you go to some of the great NFL rivalries, mate. They're awesome. What pumps the game up?
You know what helps?
That's because they have division. Division into conferences.
Yeah.
And then they play in the NFL, they play their division twice in the year, and they play those 4 teams, or those other 3 teams twice, and then play.
And those games mean so much more.
I think there's 32 teams, and they only play 17 games for the year, so there's never going to be able to play everybody. But every year it's changed based off where they finish on the ladder and how they go, and then it's a rotating, like I think it's 7-year roster draw, and
that's why I would love a conference system. I would love get the 20 teams and chop it up. I'm all for that.
I think we could have just done that with 16, 4 teams in each conference, in each division, and off we go. And then created that division. But with 20, it's tough. You're going to have 5 divisions of 4, or you're going to have 4 divisions of 5.
I don't like the conference system.
Lock them in a north, a west, a south, and the rest.
The rest.
Yeah.
international.
Poor old
Yeah.
Perth. Yeah.
Conferences would be great. Yeah, the games mean listen. The games mean more though. I think that's a problem in the NRL. Is it gets to a point where this. I think maybe it's a debate for the show or not. Is too many games where towards the end it gets lost. Where when you play a divisional rival, not only pushing yourself up, you're pushing your rival down. Those games mean more. Those divisional games on the calendar, they do mean more than just a regular.
I agree. You put it out like you have a think. Really, have a look at the numbers and things and the media and that. Towards the end, 27 rounds is a long time. Then they are also watching Origin. The fan drop-off drops away. Like, it's just that content happens. And you can see it just in all content through all creators and stuff. I watch a lot of numbers and things, and you can see towards the last third of the year, just engagement drops. Our media numbers drop. Like, everything drops. It's too long. Our competition is too long. So we need to find a way to do it. But and obviously people still watch the games because it's weekends and you're at home and stuff like that. But in terms of spectator numbers and stuff like that, it all drops away unless you're the Broncos. And
I guess the problem is that because it's a TV-based game, they're not going to do that.
Well, but that's the argument for 20 teams, right? So you replace the amount of rounds with less rounds, but as just as many games.
Right.
So I think, I'd be in favour of like 22, 23, and then you have basically everyone plays each other, and then you have your extra little bonus rivalry one. So Rabbitohs Roosters should always happen to.
So you don't like conferences?
I'm not Americanized enough to know about them, but I also just don't like the idea, right? As a fan of a New South Wales team living in Queensland, I'll see my team less. So just from that personal point of view,
Well, that's not saying it's not geo-locked. Like you could say, all right, all Queensland teams, they're not in the same division. Queensland's represented in every division. It's not like, okay, the two New Zealand teams, if they're locked in, or all Sydney clubs are locked in.
I'm
not to say that's
not
okay
with it really. So I just don't know.
I just think I'd love the traditional way. Just have everyone play each other once. It's a 20-round competition, and we add some things, and it's down the pecking order of talking points. Add a bit more in terms of international games, rep games, and things like that is personal. We're going to go over to. I wanted to quickly touch on regional areas, but I wanted to do them more. I don't want to rush it, so we'll go past it for now. I will go back to the regional side of things. I actually got an idea for it, but I want to play. I've got here a fun game, but it could really go south quickly depending on answers in this room. So we will see. So what's going to happen is I'm going to ask some questions, and we're all going to we'll go around the room, we'll show our answers, so we can't be cheating or changing our answers because someone said something. Everything is pre-written before the pod is started, and these are all team-based, so we'll be giving what teams. So first one, most annoying team in the comp.
Oh, I thought it was most annoying fan.
Fan, yes, fan basis.
Brisbane Broncos.
Yeah, I'm not mad about that.
But I only say that because, like, the last couple of years I haven't been very annoying. But when Broncos are on top, the fans become pretty obnoxious.
Smug, absolutely. I am obnoxious. I'm very happy. Yeah. We know who we are.
We know who we are.
That's right. That's
Dragons.
Yep. One, maybe just because for some reason we always seem to lose them in a day game, which annoys the crap out of me. But they haven't had success for They dine our form of success, and they annoy me. They just annoy me.
Wow.
I grew up with some annoying Dragons fans as well. I think something in my childhood just remember going.
Well, that used to be a big rivalry. Broncos, Dragons, yeah.
I've gone the Melbourne Storm because of Melbourne Storm fans' smugness around the 09 cap issues. Obviously tugs at my heartstrings, and they are very smug about it and just basically turn a blind eye to it and act as if it didn't happen, and you stole one from me when I was sitting there in the crowd. So personally, I'm over people like Trav being so smug with, you guys cheated the cap and guess what? You got the wooden spoon. Well, you guys cheated the cap and cheated me out of a premiership.
Oh, well, it's this shit.
Link.
Good. Shock horror. The Bronx.
Brandy.
Yeah, this one goes out to you guys. Yeah, look, sorry, Nick, mate, you're the best of them, mate. So I'm willing to pull you out of that bad bunch, mate. To be honest with you,
I can change my behaviour. I can get worse.
You guys just keep winning. It's just winning everything.
Yeah. So it's just been bled into me. And I said I'm a big advocate for not ugly hate, but generational rivalry hatred in sports. And you just need it, and I'm all for it. And I direct a lot of mine towards the Broncos.
Was that thought of down in your mother's dungeon?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know exactly where that.
A lot of hatred in that dungeon, mate. Yeah.
I'm so happy that you did that and you said the Storm and you only did that because of me. So I said Joel Johnston. Most annoying. And not only is that Joel Johnston, that's obviously the Eels fans. The Eels just, and this year, you know what? I never had any dislike to the Eels fan until this year because of him.
Oh.
So it's literally only because of him. And his smugness, but he's just, he loves to bury his head in the sand. He's got no idea about anything like that. And yeah, I'm done with the Eels fans.
Well, Trav, you can kick us off as most friendly as well. Since
Right,
you've got
friendly.
No idea.
I got the Storm.
What?
You never ever hear anything bad about the Storm.
You just never hear anything about this.
Yeah, it's exactly right. So they're the
Apart from
friendly, the most
cheating
friendly.
The cap, apparently. But
Man, that
No, we've owned that.
I'm sorry, but
You haven't. You still got the trophies in your thingo.
Yeah.
That's not owning. What a joke!
Wow.
Move on.
Yeah.
That's the organisation.
I respect that.
The organisation is showing that. Me as a fan, I've told you very, very openly that I don't think we should, but I'm a fan.
Wow.
I've actually, going to the footy, I've been going to footy all my life. I've had the most problems with Storm fans.
That's a lie.
No,
That's
I
an
swear on my life.
That's an
absolute
absolute lie.
I
Wow.
swear on my life, I've had about 3 or 4 inches.
Get us back on track
with
with
Storm fans.
Well, I think unequivocally, it's got to go to the Wars. Magic Round, they make Magic Round. Let's be honest, they put magic in Magic Round. Went to Christchurch, they were a blast. We got absolutely blown off the park that day. I didn't have one person. Seriously, there was, I reckon, about 5 of us 9 supporters there. I think I was the only bloke in our amazing Anzac kit. Not one dickhead. Not one. They were the best bunch of people, super friendly. What they've done for the competition is insane. So the Wars, unequivocally the most friendly for me.
Hands down the Wars for mine as well. So I will be locking them in. I don't even think I need an explanation. Just keep doing what you guys are doing. You're absolutely killing it.
Yeah, 100%. Up the wires. Up the wires. You guys are incredible.
Yeah, I'm on the Wires train as well. Shout out to Richie of Warrior Nation. They always host the Warriors events upstairs, the pub next store. Great dudes. They're so welcoming. Great people.
So what do you got against Wars supporters?
Nothing. You'll see soon.
It's just that Melbourne are better.
Correct. More friendly.
Oh, that's I've heard it all.
Bubble comment of everything. Or...
Absolute.
we have to loyal now?
Bandwagoners.
Okay, sorry. I'm in the wrong order. I am pains to say this, but by their own admission, Bulldogs fans are the biggest bandwagons. I went to that game against the Sharks, the last round of the thingo. With 20 minutes to go, the kennel was empty. It's just so disappointing. So I hope they turn it around for their own sake, but by their own admission, you'll hear Winston Neville say this all the time. Like, where were you 3 years ago? So,
Vermont, that. I don't mind. You're probably going to hate this, but for me, it's the store.
Oh, yeah.
This is because I grew up in Melbourne as a kid, and basically it was just get on the Storm. They win all the time. I don't know a single player who's out there. Oh, cool. They got the best players. Yep, they win. But you couldn't name anyone else. So for me, that's just a different perspective. But also, NRL Grand Final, they're not fans. You're not real footy fans.
Not there. I've gone the Bulldogs as well, and quoting what the famous Winston has said, where were you 3 years ago? Link.
Look away, Retro. I've gone the Roosters. How many members have you got at the Roosters?
like the 20,000.
20,000 for a foundation club is absolutely appalling. Appalling. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You've had all the success in the world. You've got billionaire bloody businessmen pouring money into your club. 20,000. Absolute joke. I would hate to see that number if you guys were not a successful club. Like a foundation club with 20,000 members is laughable. Like,
I
what
wish
are
we
we
had
doing?
more bandwagoners.
What are we doing? So, they get my vote.
Yeah. Sorry. Bulldogs. For me, simple as that.
Doggies. Trav, loyal.
The Wars. I'm on them. Just because I didn't put them as friendly, the most friendly, doesn't mean I don't like them. Love the Wars fans, got them as the most loyal. They will follow them to the depths of the darkness down at 500 Ks down in the bottom of the ocean. They will do it.
Oh, I don't know about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I
not sure
know
about that.
a few
I do
Wars fans who changed to the Wars once they were doing
Yes.
well.
Come at me. I don't think any argument, not supporters. Rain, hail, or shine, and it has been hailing on us like 4 wooden spoons in the last decade. We always turn up. Mac Jones Stadium always pumping.
Yes, they do.
No matter what, you can only imagine when we win a grand final, it is just going to be an absolute bloody war zone. It's going to be that big a party, but there is no denying we are unwavering
When do you think
Not
that'll
good.
happen?
How many days? How many days till October?
It has to be
Anyway,
Sun explodes because that's when Parramatta will win theirs after it explodes.
So yeah, look, Knights supporters are the most loyal by far.
For mine, come at me. Parramatta.
Of course.
What we have gone through, 40 years without a premiership, the fact that they still remain, membership's still fantastic, turning up, things like that. I don't think if any other club out there had the lack of success that we have had.
You've made grand finals, mate.
Mhm.
Yeah, great.
We haven't,
Yeah, great.
and you've won one spoon.
But you've
We
won,
won
you've
four.
won a grand final before they
Yes,
have.
we haven't won a grand final for 40
Yeah, but you won 3 straight.
Who cares? I wasn't even alive.
I'm just saying.
It's 40 years ago.
I'm just saying you've made grand finals. You just lose
The
them.
majority of rugby league
That's all you've never made.
alive.
You made one in 2001. You made one in what 2000 and
I don't care about
you made one bloody
the winner.
4 years ago, mate.
No one gets rewarded for making them. It's all about
Yeah, but you're painting it like you've never achieved anything.
Hence the
You've
reason
gone bloody close.
most annoying. That's why I said.
Yeah,
most
you're
critical.
cool.
I don't.
Yeah, come on, mate.
I love that you argued there. Well done, Lee.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
For me, it's got to be the Tigers. Absolutely got to be the Tigers. Again, it's just, you saw that interview with that kid outside a Jets game the other day? Where he's like, I hate this team. Like,
Yeah.
there is so much pain, and this is me as an Essendon fan in the AFL, there is so much pain, but they still keep turning up. Even though they know they're going to get blown off the park, in a rundown like beautiful, Leichhardt Oval just looks beautiful. I will say that, and shout out to all the Tigers fans, Matty G and all that, but the fact that you can still put up with that and keep turning up in a rundown stadium and somehow still, but that club both of those clubs should have been wiped off the park so long ago. How they are still alive,
Yeah.
I don't know, but their fans somehow still turn up.
Yeah.
That's what I love. I respect that.
I almost had the Tigers as well, but I did change to Parramatta.
Thanks.
Purely based on that Newey fans did have something in 01, Tigers fans did have something in 2005.
Yeah.
Parramatta had something since 1986. The one thing I will give is that I think Knights fans and Para fans both torture themselves with their delusions of grandeur that they'll actually win something. Poor Tigers fans know they and they still stick with them, but I went Para because they're the most.
Well, they've come bloody close. You've had some good teams. You haven't won, as I said, 4 spoons in the last 10 years.
But Jimmy Barnes said there ain't no second prize, so
It means nothing in this company. It's about winning the company.
I'll take coming to getting this close to winning a premiership than triple wooden spoons.
No,
Thank you.
That's why Storm fans are still happy at the moment, even though they've lost 2 in a row. Retro.
the biggest
Come on.
spenders.
Yes.
Now, I actually thought of this in terms of merchandise. And
You would
so-
know. You're the perfect bloke to
I
ask.
do. So I've got 2 answers, the Broncos and the Chooks. So if you're talking modern merch, like current era stuff pumped out by clubs, the Broncos are number 1 by a mile. But if you're talking vintage third-party market stuff, it's the Roosters.
It's all those rich
It is.
latte sipping blokes on yachts, mate, buying all your gear up.
Roosters fans pay well for items. They're very...
The demographic, mate.
It's in the closet.
like
that.
Just look at it.
Yeah, it's the Bondi tax.
I don't know. I don't even need to hold up a sign here. You know exactly what it is. Broncos fans will spend, but I will say the amount of fans that drove, flew, caught trains just to get down to the grand final, like they will pay to see their club play. And the fact that now Stadium, Suncorp's selling out so much more, people are now really putting their hard-earned in to make sure they secure a ticket just to see their team play. They'll do, these fans are, for me, closest things I've ever seen to like AFL fans. They are rusted on. They will give everything. They pay their memberships. You look at the membership tallies. They just want to pay to be a part of something. So big spenders,
And
absolutely.
it's easy when the merch team are killing it at the moment too. Broncos are number 1 in merch this year by far. Like, it's quality stuff, so good.
Chookies, pretty self-explanatory. They're the big spenders in every aspect of that.
I love a sombrero, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Every part of that. Link.
I love you, supporters. You guys travel everywhere. You pack out Magic Round. You made the pilgrimage to Vegas also this year. They're just all about it. So maybe not in a merchandising sense, but
No, they're pretty good.
they will go everywhere.
Looking up jerseys to buy. They seem to have a new one every couple of weeks.
They've got the same amount as everyone else, but yeah.
Feels like it's a lot more.
No, it's the same.
So yeah, the Wires get my vote.
Look, I had the Broncos, but I didn't write that down. I think that's just a self-explanatory. I went something different because I had a bit of a thought about something here, and I've picked the Rabbits as biggest spenders, and it leads into the next one, if you don't mind me starting that.
Yeah, I'll hear you.
And I'm going to go, the most hardcore is the Rabbits and that random Rabbits fan, because we know that random Rabbits fan pops up in every photo internationally, everywhere. So I went with that. Like, I've been overseas a lot. I've done a lot of travel, and I reckon every single country I've gone to, at some point, randomly, I've seen the random Rabbits fan. I've gone to London, Paris, Spain. Madrid, Rome, all over America. I've gone all over Asia, and I will every single time I see a random Rabbits fan. They're the most hardcore for me.
How are we not doing global round? Hey, after that.
2026.
There you go.
Well, the Rabbits make that.
Well, you only get one though. You only get one Rabbit fan.
Hardcore. It's got to be the Newcastle Knights supporters, the battlers out there. As I said, rain, hail, or shine, we turn up. I think we do the best. We probably got the best after party probably ever documented after a grand final. The great kidnapping of the Daniel Johns. Newcastle just lit up that. I don't think anyone's come close, to be honest. I think every other team should be ashamed of their grand final partying since the night.
Man. We born, man.
97.
No, yeah, I was.
Just check.
How old do you think he
He
is?
just looks very youthful.
I'm the
Mate.
91 model. I'm the 91 model.
Yeah, absolute hardcore.
Were you
Live and
born
breathe
then?
rugby league. Yeah, give them to the battlers, mate.
I've gone to Tigers. I've gone to West Tigers partly because of everything they go through and the fact that they just suck and their fans continue to turn up, buy everything, and just go through everything. But it's true. And then they go to stadiums that aren't really up to it at the modern day AFL, but they love it. But yeah, Tigers fans, shout out to you. I actually mean this in the best way possible. That is absolutely hardcore. And they always have those old school retro jerseys going nice and proudly. So big concreted fans.
I like it. Again, for me, it's Broncos, and this is even before the time that I became close with the club. It's the metric I use is how it affects your week after a win or a loss, and especially in that period of time where the Broncos were down and weren't having success, just the sheer anger you could hear through the fan base and how people turn up to work. It has ruined their Monday, their Tuesday. Not just one, but because there were so many of them. A down Broncos nation can absolutely just sour this town, but when they're up and about, they will let you know.
It's like a direct contradiction to how my week goes. I've never been more miserable.
Isn't that exactly why the Dolphins got so many more members and fans in 2024? Because the Broncos were no good.
Yeah.
As of so far,
Turn the knife.
I'm so hardcore. As of right now, the most hardcore fan base, I believe, is the Bulldogs.
Oh, yeah. I see it.
So, yes, big street parties and DJ in the street and all that kind of stuff. They go to town.
Beating
They're up
people up
about.
trains. I hope they do that as well.
Oh, the poor
It
Raiders.
doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a train. It's at the stadium. It's on the bases. It's
There we go. That's episode 1 done, guys. I hope you've enjoyed everything we've spoken about so far. Look, as I said, the plan is to build into this. So we've touched on a lot of topics, but there's still a lot of topics to be done. Huge thank you once again to the Cash Street Brewing Company for hosting us. It's been fantastic. Episode 2 is on its way, so make sure you're keeping an eye on things. Subscribe to the podcast and YouTube to get notified about it. Give all these legends a follow all across their social media pages. We will give you all their handles and things like that in the show notes and things like that. But thank you to everyone. It's been very, very fun, and we will see you all again soon.